The Colorado Buffaloes are going into their Week 7 game against the number 18 Kansas State Wildcats as 3.5-point dogs. I think they're going to win, and here's 3 things they absolutely need to do to make sure they do.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I appreciate you guys for making me your first listen or watch every single day. Let's dive right into the thick of it. Colorado home game. They're coming off a bye week. They're playing against the number 18 Kansas State Wildcats, also off a bye week. And this game's an interesting one, right? I think a lot of people prior to the season, myself included, were like, you know what? Kansas State's just one of those teams. That's going to be a loss for Colorado. And now, after I've seen Colorado play 5 games and I've seen Kansas State play 5 games, I've already said I have Colorado State winning this one. And I do think that they have a great chance of, 1, winning this game, 2, becoming a ranked team. They have 3 votes in the last AP poll, and 3, kind of solidifying themselves as, I don't know if they're a dark horse Big 12 contender, but they're in the mix. I would say this will put them squarely in the mix because up to this point, everyone likes to sort of poke fun or poke a hole in each of their wins, right? Against North Dakota State, they're an FCS team. Against they lost to Nebraska, so it's like, see, they're not good. And then they beat Colorado State, and it's like, well, they should have beat them, which, I mean, to a certain degree, true, right? And then they beat UCF, and it's like, oh, well, it's UCF, right? And UCF wasn't as good as we thought they'd be, and there's just so many reasons why they did what they did. Baylor, they're like, oh, they needed overtime, right? There's been so many sort of, they needed this or this happened. Colorado's done what they needed to do, right? I think if they'd played Nebraska again right now, I would like Colorado's chances a lot better than maybe the first time around. I think they could beat Nebraska if they were to rematch. So maybe somewhere down the line in the playoff or the bowl game season, we'll see that again. But let's get to the 3 keys. I think they're pretty straightforward. Like I said, Kansas State is favored by 3.5. My first key, starting fast, right? This Kansas State team is predicated. They live and die by the run. So if Colorado gets the ball first, scores a touchdown, it kind of puts a little pressure on Kansas State to answer. If they don't answer and Colorado scores again, and all of a sudden it's a 2-score game, Kansas State's offense is not built to sort of go shot for shot like, hey, you hit a touchdown on a deep pass, we're going to answer. No, they want to go down the field methodically, and they want to sort of play a game where it's like they control the time of possession, and you're not going to touch the ball, but we're going to sort of just slowly move the ball down the field, and then eventually we'll score. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that's not going to work. Kansas State currently ranks, let me pull it up real quick. Sorry about that. My computer is being slow. They are, oh my gosh. There we go. They rank 94th in time of possession, which, I mean, isn't anything special. Colorado's 96th. But I think in this game where they know that they can't keep up with Shedeur Sanders in this passing attack, they'd probably try to play a little bit of keep away. And that's not going to work if Colorado gets off to an early lead, right? That's just not going to be how Kansas State finds success. I think if Colorado gets off to a 2-score lead and Kansas State's constantly playing catch-up, it's going to be a game-over situation for them. It's going to be a lot like the UCF game where UCF is having to rely on a quarterback who – I think Avery Johnson's a way better quarterback than KJ Jefferson, but he's also not at a point in his career where he's going to go single-handedly win games with his arms. Which leads me to my next key, stop the run. Kansas State ranks number 7 in the country in rushing offense. For reference, at the time, UCF was number 1 when Colorado played them, and Colorado had no issues slowing down that offense. UCF now ranks number 4 in the country, so they're still a really good rushing attack. And Kansas State ranks number 7. They average 6.93 yards per carry, or yards per rush, which is only second to Boise State, who obviously has Ashton Genty, who is probably, I don't know if I think it's between him and Travis right now for the Heisman in terms of odds makers. It depends on where you check. But so Boise State's running back who averages 10 yards a carry is probably helping skew those numbers a little bit. But like I was saying, they rank number 7 in the country in rushing attack. They average 252 yards per game. So for Colorado to sort of slow down the run and take away the run, I think they need to hold them to about 150 yards rushing, 175 yards rushing, right? Because that means a major part of their offense, a major part of what they want to do is now gone by the wayside, right? You can't run the ball if you're down 20. I mean, you can. That'd be kind of silly, right? It'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, hand the ball off, right? Kill 20 seconds or kill 15 seconds, right? So take away the run, start fast, and then my third and final key is kill their confidence. We talked about it yesterday with Derek Young from On3, who covers Kansas State for them. And he kept alluding to that BYU game, or kept going back to that BYU game where Kansas State lost 38-9. And he said there was a handful of, I think he said it was 6 minutes, right, where things just went awry for Kansas State, and that kind of dictated the rest of the game. For Colorado, I want to say, especially since this game's in Boulder, right, if Colorado can connect on a few big plays, like maybe a big touchdown pass, which we always know that's in play, right? A nice bomb from number 2 to number 12 is always in play. But maybe the defense forces a turnover, forces a fumble, picks off Avery Johnson, whatever it is, something to get the crowd going, something to sort of suck any confidence out of, which I mean, kind of pause right there. That's a little awkward, but suck the confidence out of Kansas State, right? You don't want them to sort of feel like they're in the game, because if you take them out of it, like Derek said yesterday, they're still a team that's gaining experience together. So if you take their confidence out of it, then it's like, okay, which team are you going to count on more? A confident Colorado team who has the crowd behind them, or a timid Kansas State team who's like, well, now we got to play not to lose or whatever. So those are my 3 keys to winning this game. I still think Colorado's going to win this game. I expect it to be a closer game than the UCF game, because I do think Kansas State's a lot better than UCF. But I do think that Colorado, I think they're going to head into the middle of October with a 5-1 record against an Arizona team who's not as good as we thought they were. Not as good as we thought. So I'm really liking where Colorado's at right now. I think they win this game. Comment below what your keys are for them to win, so that way we all know what we're all thinking. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what a win does for Colorado, because I think it would move a couple mountains for them. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by one of our new sponsors, ZBiotics. And let me tell you about ZBiotics, because it's everything you need. ZBiotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Here's how to use. Again, step 1, drink pre-alcohol. For best results, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself, hydrate, and get a good night's sleep. And then step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. So go to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege for 15% off at checkout. Make sure to go check out ZBiotics. This episode of Locked on Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. It's the NFL season, so you guys know what that means. It's time to go head on over to FanDuel, where you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, so make sure to like, subscribe, follow. all that jazz. So that way we could continue to grow this channel and continue to have some fun. Let's talk about what a victory does for Colorado. Like I talked about earlier, I think everyone, and I mean, there's no secret why. Everyone wants this Colorado team to fall flat on their face. I mean, it's pretty obvious with the way that they're covered, the way that they're talked about. It's like, okay, they're good now, but wait until insert blank, or they're good now, but they haven't played insert blank team, right? There's always a reason why Colorado is not good. And it's because of Deion Sanders. People don't want him to succeed. They don't want him to they don't want Colorado's media coverage to be, I guess, validated on the field, right? I think a lot of people understand that Colorado is going to be covered regardless because Deion Sanders is such a polarizing figure, but they don't want him to be able to back it up on the field. And I think one of my favorite quotes that I'm totally going to, I don't remember the word for word quote, but my favorite sentiments, we'll call it, from Deion Sanders was, get us now, because eventually you won't be able to. It was something along those lines, right? Where Coach Prime was saying, yeah, take your shots now, beat us, blow us out now, because it won't be easy next year. And I think for the most part, that's been exactly true. The only blowout that they had was against Nebraska. And honestly, that was more on the offense than the defense. I think the offense they laid the goose egg there. And the defense was doing their best, held them scoreless in the second half, regardless. Colorado, you're not going to blow them out this year, especially not any of these Big 12 teams, at least not that I think. So what does a win do? One, it validates what Coach Prime was preaching last year, which is they're going to be a lot better. Two, I think it jumps them into the top 25 rankings. I think you have to give Colorado credit, right? The voters can't keep them out of the rankings forever. And I think this would be the week that they would get in, because let's just look at who's playing where and all this. Oklahoma's playing Texas, right? They're 4-1. Texas is number 1 in the country. Oklahoma's clearly, depending on how the game goes, Oklahoma isn't a team that I view as one that should be in the top 25. And if Texas handles business, they'll probably fall out of these rankings, right? Another team that is kind of a week away from being out of the rankings is Michigan. They're playing number 23 Illinois. They're 4-2. They dropped 14 spots last week after their loss to Washington. So realistically, another loss from Michigan, and they are donezo in the top 25. And then also SMU, who they're 25th right now. They're on a bye week, so they'll probably hold strong, but they play Stanford next week, and Stanford could probably push them to the brink. So I think there's a chance for Colorado to slide into one of the bottom 20 spots, right? Kansas State may even fall out depending on if Colorado beats them, right? You have to value the head-to-head, so Colorado has to be ranked ahead of them. So one, it gets Colorado ranked, or that's my second point, excuse me. It gets Colorado ranked. Two, I think there'd be a lot more confidence around this program in the place where it matters, which is indoors. I don't think this team lacks confidence, but I feel like they lack proof of what they are being preached or preaching, right? And it's not anything that's their fault. They've handled the business that they've needed to every step of the way outside Nebraska. But beating a ranked team just does things a little different. Beating a ranked team gets morale a little higher. It gets confidence a little higher. And all of a sudden, you're no longer like this underdog. It's like, okay, we belong here. Because assuming Colorado wins this game, I think they will. They go into every other game the rest of the season favored to win, according to ESPN's matchup predictor. And that's including games against number 16 Utah. That's including games against Oklahoma State, who was the Big 12 runner-up last year. Kansas, who was a lot of people's dark horse contender to win the game. So there's a lot of confidence that can be built here. I think Colorado has a prime opportunity, no pun intended, to just sort of be like, hey, this is where this program's trajectory is headed, right? We are going to contend in the Big 12. We are going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12. And if you're contending in the Big 12 with the new playoff, you are contending for the playoff. So Colorado beats one of the top teams in the conference, and then they play a stretch that I think I look at the rest of Colorado's schedule, and outside of Utah, which Cam Rising is returning today, so we'll see how he looks. Outside of Utah, I'd pick Colorado head-to-head against anyone on the rest of their schedule. Like, legitimately, I just don't trust any of these other teams, right? We haven't seen it. Arizona, I think they're starting to figure it out on offense, but can they keep up with Colorado? Yet to be seen. Cincinnati, I think, is a lot better than what they were, but I think they're about a year away from being able to make some noise in the Big 12. Texas Tech, I think that'd be a shootout, and at that point, it's like, who do I trust more? Baron Morton or whoever they're trotting out a quarterback? Yeah, Baron Morton. or Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I trust Shedeur in 99.9% of quarterback duels in college football. There's probably not a quarterback in college football that I trust more than Shedeur Sanders, like in the clutch. I think he's probably one of the most clutch, if not the most clutch quarterback in college football. Utah, again, I think they just have a really good defense and they have an experienced offense if Rising is playing. So we'll see how that goes. Kansas, I think they're frauds. And Oklahoma State always thought they were frauds, and they continue to look like that. So Colorado has sort of an opportunity to be like, hey, we're about to take over this conference. That's if they win. And I'm not saying they will take over the conference right now, but they can head in that direction, right? There's reason to believe that they sort of can be in the mix. So let me know what you think a win does in the comment section below. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the locker room issues that Coach Prime is trying to nip in the bud. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Robinhood. And let me tell you about Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thank you guys for making me a part of your daily routine. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. Couple things. One, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, like I said. Two, we are so close to 6,000 subscribers, which is a goal of mine for sure. Would love to get there. We're currently, I'll give you a live count of this. We are currently at, oh gosh, let me do the math. I wasn't expecting there to be math involved. I thought it'd be an easier number. We are currently at 41 away. So let's get there. Let's talk about Coach Prime. He's threatening to take away football from some guys. And you're probably like, what? Taking away football? Yeah, Coach Prime is making sure that guys are handling business in the locker room, in the classroom. And based on this video that surfaced on Well Off Media, they are not. So this is what happened. Coach Prime can be heard saying, actually, I'll just play the video because I think there's a lesson to be learned here. I like the video. I liked his message. So just a quick second as I share my screen and my audio so that way we could hear it. But here we go. Because honestly, I think people always trot out this false narrative that he doesn't care about these guys, and I think he does.
You guys that's flunking something, you got to next week, or you're going to be out of the football stuff and into the class and don't have no more football responsibility. Because I care more about your life than this game. Because 95% of y'all ain't going to play this game when your time is up. 95% of y'all. Get that in your spirit and let it sit.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty obvious there what he's saying. I think he had an issue or a similar issue I think it was last season or during last semester, I guess, where he got an email from the teacher who's like, I've never felt so disrespected. And then he had another chat with the guys where he made everybody talk about their plans for life after football. Because again, and I think this is hard because all of these guys in college athletics, they were the guy at their school for the most part. Obviously, there's a few stories here and there where it's like, oh, he worked his way up. He didn't play high school or like blah, 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 whatever. But for the most part, these guys were all the best of the best at their school. And now here comes that saying where it's like big fish, little pond, and now you're a little fish in a big pond, right? Not every one of Colorado's players are going to the NFL, right? I think Shedeur, Shiloh, Travis, LeJounte, like they're probably Colorado probably has a handful of pros. Like there's probably, I would say 10 right now that are going to go pro or at least get a pro shot. There's over 100 guys on the team. So you have to sort of understand that, hey, you got to handle business in the classroom. I really am interested to see if we're going to learn who those guys were, because obviously if those guys are key contributors and we find out next week that, hey, so-and-so isn't living up to their standard in the classroom, and now they're no longer a part of the team, or they're no longer going to play, that would be detrimental. So really hope that everyone figures it out. I do love Coach Prime's approach. I've always loved his approach when it comes to sort of emphasizing that, hey, not all of you are me, right? Not all of you are Deion Sanders who's going to go pro, let alone pro in 2 sports, right? So figure things out, figure out a plan. And clearly he cares about them more than he cares about their football careers, which I don't think is a bad thing by any means. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. I will see you guys after Colorado's game against Kansas State. I think it's going to be a win. You guys think it's going to be a win. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone, and have a great weekend.